I want to go across to Sanjay Kulkarni first, because one of the things which was cited globally, despite grave border tensions between India and China, was that yahan goliyan nahi chalti. You know, there can be fisticuffs and all manner of tension may escalate. But the one saving grace was that bullets are not fired. The bullets that were fired yesterday were not fired in anger. They were fired by the Chinese army to threaten the Indian army. But there is no telling when bullets are fired in anger. How close are we to war? That's the one question that all of India is asking. General Kulkarni, as a man who understands this area so well, what's your best sense? How do you respond to this? Are we close to war, sir?
Rahul, first, the situation is tense, it's grim, it's absolutely worrisome, it's volatile. There is no denying the fact. After having occupied some of these dominating heights of Blacktop, your Helmet Top, your Rekenla, Rezangla feature, what they call it is the Shipao mountain top, is what the Chinese refer to as. Now, all these heights, when you occupy Magar Hill, Gurung Hill, your entire feature of Rezangla, where you rightly said in 1962, where Major Shaitan Singh won a posthumous Paramveer Chakra, where the Kumaunis out of 120 lost 114 men. That was the kind of battle fought at Rezangla. Having said that, you realize that these heights are such that give you a deep dominating positions and look and see into entire of the Spangur Gap and the Pangang Swamp. So that is one very important thing. The another thing is the Maldo camp is right below. That is why you saw and noticed that the hotline was on, but they never wanted to meet one another, obviously because they have a sizable amount of mobilization taking place behind. Now, whatever they might mobilize is now we can see it and see deep look and see. And now that is something which is worrisome to the Chinese. Now, another thing that is very important over here to understand is that you realize that the Chinese statement that came, which did not come from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but came from the Western theatre. And it said that the troops were going up to negotiate. And therefore, and thereafter, the Indian troops fired at them because it transgressed the LAC. So, they negotiate. And just see the kind of equipment that they were going for negotiating. You see the kind of equipment. You rightly said what all stuff they were carrying. It would have been absolutely a repeat of Galwan had they reached the top. And that would have been catastrophic, because these are very, very sensitive times when things are boiling up, when the anger can actually result in anything. And I can understand the frustration among the local Chinese commanders, because they must have been under pressure as to how come they were not able to prevent the Indians from occupying all the heights south of Pangangso. Now that is something which is very, very worrisome to the. Now when it comes to question of are we heading for a war? Well, I wouldn't say right now, let's give all the options for talk. Yes, preparation has to be full. If you are ready, then you can prevent a war, number one. Number two, these kind of incidents can just trigger something which we are not anticipating. And therefore, a localized conflict cannot be ruled out. We have to be very, very careful. The Chinese are probing. And wherever they find a weakness, they would want to get into a position of strength. Right now, India is in a position of strength.
Okay, Colonel Ajay Shukla, you know, how close are we to war, to hostilities breaking out, to bullets being fired in anger, to any one of these clashes, which very mercifully and thankfully was diffused without bloodshed, actually leading to a Galwan Encore? Give me a moment, I'll try and fix that link with Colonel Ajay Shukla. Till then, General Kulkarni, what's your best sense of how the Chinese are likely to react in the manner in which they keep coming up? Will they keep making these probes which don't lead to violence? Or do you think that it's only inevitable that one of these nights there will be violence in India, will wake up to information that there's been bloodshed along the line of actual control, because our boys are totally charged up and the Chinese don't seem to be behaving themselves?
Rahul, I hope not. But yes, what you're saying can just happen. Can just happen. We have to be very, very careful. The Chinese don't seem to realize. All these statements seem to be saying that the Indians have transgressed the LAC. All of the area is there. They don't seem to realize it. What the Chinese are probably pressurizing the government of India is to accept the present status quo. We are not willing to accept the status quo as of now. We are saying status quo ante April 2020 if de-escalation and peace and tranquility is to prevail. Now the Chinese are in a fix. If that be the stand, and Indian stand has been so solid, and The deployment is almost, mobilization is mirror image on either side. And if we are the defenders, mountains favor the defenders. If we are occupying heights, it's impossible for us to get dislodged by them. And the number of troops that are required for dislodging people from heights is not a joke. It's virtually impossible. So the Chinese are in a bind. Now, for an honorable exit, what kind of an honorable exit would they be wanting to do at this point of time? Status quo probably is what the Chinese are looking for. We are insisting on status quo ante, and that's where now we are in a fix. At this point of time, we have to be alert. We must be properly equipped at all times, prepared at all times. Chinese will continue to probe this way, and when the balloon goes up, they will say, we did not attack, we counter-attacked because the Indians attacked. Now, this is the kind of statements and these are the kind of things. You can see virtual things of 1962 kind of things happening. You can also see what they did in Vietnam in 79 kind of things happening. So it's virtually, I think the Chinese are cornered.